Welcome to the meeting room at Global TV Talk Show, a broadcast service of globalbusinessnews.net.
This episode from the meeting room of Global TV Talk Show is brought to you by
The Bridge School, the accredited international online private school of choice, at bridgek12.org.
Porch Light Rental and Destination Services. Reduce your renter lump sum or managed relocation costs. Visit them at porchlightrental.com.
Cube Monk, featuring the world's first smart cube. Track your goods with our advanced GPS system. Welcome to the future of moving and relocation at cubemonk.com.
Primestone Partners, featuring corporate, government, and developer housing solutions, as well as senior-level advisory services. Find them at primestonepartners.com.
And by heirs.com. With our full range of services, we can help design and manage your international relocation. Find us at heirs.com.
Insured Nomads provides protection and peace of mind, with health insurance, travel insurance, group, or tailored insurance for the globally mobile. Visit us at insurednomads.com.
And by International Auto Source. We are the vehicle experts for expats, featuring all major brands of automobiles with flexible solutions and financing. On the web at intlauto.com.
This is Ed Cohen in San Diego, California. It's just afternoon time, and it's International Women's Day. And we have a great cast of characters here, of participants, of thought leaders. First of all, from the New York market, Dianne Devitt. Hello, Diane.
Hi, Ed. Nice to be here.
Yeah, great. Quickly, 30 seconds, introduce yourself.
Dianne Devitt. I'm an executive producer, speaker, educator, professor at NYU. I produce my own events since COVID pivoted on the virtual stage, and I love being on these shows and getting to meet new people and expanding services.
Thank you. Lindsay Childers, you and I met online. Boy, isn't it great to use LinkedIn? I just live on LinkedIn, and that's how we met about 2-3 weeks ago.
Absolutely,
And,
yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, you're in the corporate lodging business with Executive Stay in Texas.
Yes.
And so how long have you been doing that?
I've been in corporate housing since 2017, so it's been a heck of a ride since I started. There's been many changes in the industry since the beginning, since I started, and so it's really been an interesting ride, that's for sure.
Okay, and also from same company, Executive Stay, Lea Caldwell, and you're in Texas also.
Hello, yes, thank you for having me. My name is Lea Caldwell. I am the business development manager for Executive Stay, and I sit in Houston, Texas.
Great. And so you call on company, what, HR managers, travel managers?
Yes, that's mainly who we will deal with. We're kind of like their liaison between the apartments, and we will generally deal with, mobility managers, HR representatives, things like that. Project managers.
Sometimes even procurement.
Procurement from time to time.
Right. And insurance housing?
It depends. I think it really depends on the market.
Okay, good.
And a lot of those insurance companies kind of have their own relationships with.
I see. Well, I was just wondering, because of the recent crazy weather in Texas, did people run to rent from you guys to get out of their frozen house?
Christine?
We had some people, sending out technicians, especially like for, we happened to lead for Austin for, 30 to 60 electrical technicians. And unfortunately, we couldn't even house them because the places that we had were full. And even the hotels that we would partner up with, they were full, the ones that actually had power. So,
very interesting. Yeah. Diane, welcome to the show, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
I see your name very clearly now. And so tell us what your specific jobs are these days with, impacted by COVID.
I am the CEO, first of all, of DJA Business Consulting, and I have experience executing organizational development competencies and knowledge management. I've worked for world-class technologies, and so basically what we do at DJA Enterprises is a lot of HRIS, diversity and inclusion, change management, and teaching companies to adapt to circumstances that we're experiencing now, such as COVID-19. And I've been asked to task recently from a company, how are we going to bring people back to work once, the vaccinations are over and we have some kind of clear direction where we're going.
Do I understand also that you are involved with the vaccination campaign?
As a reservist, that's correct.
Yeah, what do you mean by reservist? You mean military?
Yes, I'll be working with the military and administering not the actual vaccine, but the
Right.
planning part as a reservist.
Yeah, okay.
And I deploy out to support disaster initiatives.
Okay, well, I'm sure you guys are going to get real busy now, which is, in my view, good. I've had both shots, the Moderna, and I feel great, and I'm really feeling liberated, and I wish everybody would too. So anyway, let's go to you, Diane, first about International Women's Day. So what does this mean to you?
It's significant because it brings civil awareness. It's designed for women and girls, and it is our day on March 8th. And it was first observed March the 19th in 1911 in Austria, Denmark, Germany, and Switzerland. And it was inspired because of campaigns across Europe against World War I that inspired other women in other countries to also adopt International Women's Day. And so the theme of this day is choose to challenge. And what that indicates is it's an alert that comes with change. And we can all challenge everything that has been holding us back to become better allies.
Okay, so it's all, well, my voice, I don't know whether you can hear that. There seems to be feedback. So it's about inclusion. It's about belonging, right?
Mhm. That's correct.
Yeah. Okay, so what are you doing today about that?
I am mentoring other women. I am making sure that I am present in the lives of other women, and I develop resources for them. I work with a company called Mentium, and we design programs for high performance individuals that may want to move in the company either to the vertical or horizontal career path. And we give them the tools that they may need. If they experience a barrier, they have an advocate for them. They have a person who could provide resources for their not knowing where they want to go versus where they think they want to go. So we create and design a path to support these individuals at Mentium. And it's mostly female focused, but every now and then I will get a male candidate and support him as well. And I get involved with speaking at local schools.
So you help people understand what can be done, and then a definition of the different activities that can provide that pathway.
Correct.
Okay, good. Now, this is hybrid as well as in person someday.
Yes, both.
So how hard is it to activate a campaign?
It depends on the goal. If the goal is, to develop a program or a project or a marketing campaign, you develop the resources. And especially now we have social media at our advantage, and we have technologies, and we have Zoom And so we utilize whatever tool is available to help support us, to make us a collaborative partner.
So you, I'm sure, are careful to moderate the tone or I want to use the word aggression, but that's not appropriate. And so I want to use the word of can do. Diane, what word would you use? I'm stumbling here and I don't want to say the wrong thing too much.
In using words to get things done, it's being assertive. And always tell my mentees that being aware of self-awareness supports outlooks to the people management side and help and development, and it helps identify, what's going on around you, because you always want to know what's going on around you. You don't have to watch the news 24 hours, but be knowledgeable.
Is hidden in the clouds, the firelight is dying. In the dark slumming street, men, women, children crying. No work today means no pay, and no pay means we're starving. Mother, I'm with child again, I feel like I'm dying.
Append your weaponry, my fine courageous women. Let's sign our name 1,000 times for freedom that's hard winning. No more let fear and anger rule with every hand of violence. The moon is shining in the sky as we break the silence. Love and justice be my flag. Women are a real goal for all of us to treasure. For every heroine that's named, there are 1,000 nameless who live to make a better day with acts of love and justice. Love and justice be my flag. I'll live my dream, whatever be. Whatever swear that I cannot break.
So how does the fact that there's a limited number of women in leadership roles within organizations, how does that fact prohibit or inhibit your actions? Diane.
Is it okay? My turn.
Yeah.
It does.
And then we'll go to Dianne Devitt.
Okay, thank you. Women leading impacts quite a bit of change because what they're seeing with the COVID is more women dropping out of the workplace. And once we return back to even a partial norm, the analysis by MRSA says that 20% of the leadership team for women will be executives, and 29% of women will be senior managers, 37% will be managers, and 42% are professionals, and 47% are support staff. So it matters when we are trying to get our work done, how we collaborate. I have had the experience to work in an all male dominant environment, and it has brought some difficulties and some challenges, but it also brought growth opportunities to be able to understand how to communicate in a meeting, how to get things done from a professional level, and being heard. So that's why I use the word assertive.
Great.
It isn't threatening, and it's not, you're getting what you need done. I guess I could say that.
So let me ask you, Dianne Devitt, to explain better than I can. There's something wrong with the system I'm wearing, I believe. Please comment on what Diane Alexander has been saying and about your own experiences in getting things accomplished in organizations that are male dominated.
First of all, Diane, thanks. I took notes while you were speaking, so thanks on that history and that information. I think it was really informative. And I come from the meetings and events industry, meetings, events, and production. And of course, Lindsay and Christine can nod their heads. They're in a good space right now, right? How many of our colleagues are not working? There's a Facebook group out for the hospitality family with over 57,000 members on it. But women-wise, I don't have the exact number as of yesterday, but I know it was something in the 40% range of who left their job permanently during COVID, who had to leave their job for obvious reasons, for childcare, for teaching, or, and I was very upset to hear this, stories where the company did not want them to be attending to their children while they were working virtually, which I really found hard to believe in this day and age that would still happen. I know that, but I also feel that the people who are working and the women who are working as hard as anybody else. And just to your point too, being in a male environment, I welcome it because I do think that I think the best balance is the balance between the two, and the respect between the two, because we both bring different ways of thinking to the table. I learn much from the men in my life, the male colleagues I have who teach me, as you mentioned, who I listen to them and how they negotiate, how they speak to one another. It's a very different dynamic than when I'm in a room full of women, right? So I think that is a big play. Anyway, so that's that. And the second thing is, like, Ed, you mentioned, you mentioned what Diane is doing today. So one of the things I'm doing today is I actually have a mastermind that I started for women in hospitality, meetings, events, incentives, all aspects of it. It's called the Creative Circle Forum, and I have that every Monday for people. And the whole objective is, let's do some inward work for some personal work, for some professional outcomes, and for some development. Because not if, but when our lives change, they're changing as we speak, but when we start getting back to physical, will we be ready? Will we have caught up? Will we be ready inside? And I'm talking from a confidence level, from a competence level, and from a determination level to just throw our hats in the ring again. And that's, important to me.
So Dianne Devitt, you have contacts in the healthcare industry.
Some.
So I want you to meet a gentleman who's in the background here. He's not visible, Dave Levine, who's an executive for many years in healthcare. So Dave, if you'd like to speak audio-wise or come on screen, it's okay. Or if you just want to mention in the chat to our guests here who you are and what you do, that's very okay. So I want to continue and ask Christine to comment about ExecuStay and your activities getting ready to welcome corporate business travel back.
Okay, well, actually, I kind of wanted to touch on Dianne before we get too far out. For Dianne, I have a question for her, if you don't mind. You said you mentor women, and what age group do you do?
The mastermind that we have. Well, yes. First of all, I'm a teacher and educator, so I'm available to help as I can. The mastermind that we started is for women in business 15 years up. So we can, I can give you my email. I'll put it in chat. You're welcome to go, and we can talk about it another time if that suits you. Okay.
And Diane Alexander, what about you?
There's no limit. It started from birth.
Right.
I was also, what do we think is the correct age that we should start putting this information, in young women to be leaders and to speak up? What do you think is like the appropriate age? Is it, to even have them have access to this type of mentorship? Because I feel like it's just being taught obviously by, the parents or the mom, but, at what age do you think it'd be appropriate to have these type of courses for younger women?
Well, there are various stages in life, of course. You could start from elementary age, and that's a phase that one goes through. And I would teach my students different tools, how they could, handle emotions and conversations, because at that age, that's more important for their development. And in the next phase of high school, that's important for the oncoming development and what they want to do, what society is pressing on, where you want to go, what you want to be.
Right, and different clubs that they can join as well, like those clubs in high school, to really promote, women leadership, young women leadership.
Yeah, and that's what I believe we should focus on. But at this point, my best opportunity is to volunteer at the schools and go and talk to the girls, talk to the guys, and just make it a regular visit. It's okay just to come in for a junior achievement program and then you're out. But you have to establish a momentum where you can establish their trust and they value the knowledge that you have. And then the high school students are very open as well, because most of the time you won't see them again. They'll be out doing the school careers as well as possible work. And then once they are in college, we mentor college students because they have a lot going on. And that's formative, very formative before they approach the workforce. Once they're in the workforce, it's critical to understand how do you want to navigate your career, because they don't know what they want to be, or they may not know what they want to do. And then you need ongoing mentorship as well. And you need more than one mentor. You need a career mentor. You need probably a guidance counselor. You would need a some people have spiritual mentors, some people have social mentors. So it's important to establish just more than one mentor for what you need. You
I
know,
want to bring in,
That's an excellent point. Can I just say one thing to that? Ed?
yes,
So,
yes.
because I know that Lindsay and Christine especially are in hospitality at large. You know, many of the associations have women groups. That's one thing, but there's also a group that just started, and mine, and I want to extend an invitation to the three of you. I'm sorry, guys, it's women only tonight, to the mastermind. So you email me and I'll send you the link. But Women in Travel Thrive, and Ed Cohen, I know you're going to love them. These group, they're a mentorship program for senior women to mentor younger women coming into the industry. And I think I'm involved with them as an advisor. It's Women in Travel Thrive. I'll put that in the
And it's
chat.
women mentors mentoring women.
Yes. We're all here for
And
you.
so
We're all
yeah,
here.
and I guess that's another question too, because both Dianes had said that they appreciated, having, I guess, a male mentor, a male boss that they looked up to learn how to do presentations or stay organized. And I guess that's also another question as a woman, is it beneficial to have a female mentor or a male mentor? What are the differences? What do you get from either or?
Diane Alexander, you take that one first. I'll go second. I know my answer. And by the way, no man taught me to be organized, but you go ahead.
well, I would say it's both. I grew up in a house where there were 6 guys. So I had to learn how to speak up for myself and to be heard. And if you're in a room of men, you could either take flight or you could speak up. And I was quiet, and now I'm not quiet. I guess I was, the opposite. I learned how to stand up for myself, and that's what the workforce, I think men value you when you just tell them sometime, and I'm married, so that plays a different part. My husband does mentor me sometime and teach me how. There's a book that Steve Harvey wrote, How to Be a Woman and Think Like a Man. So I recommend that as a good read. And then as far as women, you could never go wrong there.
Dave Levine, we love you being here.
No, thanks for letting me interlope on this.
No, this is a pathway.
Yeah, just wanted to appreciate this focus, particularly on International Women's Day, the kickoff, and appreciate your various perspectives. You don't need to compromise, even though the invitation was limited to, the last invitation was limited to women. I appreciate hearing from you guys.
So, Dave, why don't you briefly introduce yourself? You've been in the healthcare industry from an insurance point of view for many, many years. And what was your last role, and what are you doing right now?
Yeah, I'm an MSW, and but I've ended up with organizations owned by insurance companies. As Ed said, Aetna bought the company I was with, the EAP wellness company I was with years ago, and I worked for ComPsych, and then went off internationally, and Optum United Health bought PPC International, an organization aspiring to migrate well-being programs globally. Optum bought them, and that was my last corporate role. Left there a couple years ago, and have parlayed those international resources I developed over the years to focus on that same mission, expanding EAP and wellness services for multinational employers.
So wellness now in the COVID era, with so many people working from home, and boardrooms are trying to figure out how to open up again, and the role of vaccines or reconfigured office space. It's a crazy time now, but wellness is really front and leader of the leader of the pack. I mean, there's nothing more important than wellness, correct?
Correct. It really, this last year really has amplified the focus on behavioral health issues and well-being, and remove some of the stigma associated with that. It's still there, but at the same time, there's increased recognition for the importance of this. Everybody's adjusting in some way or another. There's also less revenue available for most companies to pay for new programs. So it's sort of a catch-22. And but I think that we're going with the increased awareness and recognition, and the economic recovery will occur. And the importance, I don't think the importance of behavioral health issues will take a back seat much longer. So I'm viewing this as progress. And even though a lot of new programs haven't been introduced this past year in this environment, it's gone a long way to acknowledge the importance of the whole person, including their mental health and spiritual health, as they approach the workplace.
Well, as I mentioned to Dave the other day, myself and a partner are developing a new talk show series that will start by the end of March, and then continue on a weekly basis on wellness in the workplace post-COVID. And we'll be looking for a variety of speakers and the people who know what they're talking about in this regard. And I just play moderator and bringing people together. So more about that later. And Dave, I certainly welcome you to look into that. So Dianne Devitt, in the theater and in events and meetings, the industry's decimated, and so many people are itching to get back involved in doing things. And yet it's probably going to be some time before Broadway opens up and Marriott Marquis in Times Square opens up for meetings. But online is certainly happening. Look at this. A year ago, we just started this because I couldn't do my live meetings anymore. And so here we are. So the future is hybrid, of course, getting together, perhaps smaller numbers, but using this also. Wouldn't you think so, Dianne Devitt?
Right. Yes. Well, the thing is, the industry, in many ways, yes, spiraled, and many people are waiting, but I'm really optimistic because I think many of the people have shifted over to the virtual landscape. Some of the hotels, look like Lindsay and Christina are in a niche. Some of the hotels I spoke with even the past week, their occupancy isn't great, but they're open. They're open for leisure travel. They're open for catering and events that are all compliant. Because again, we're dealing with hotels that have a lot of outdoor space. So they have a lot more freedom than, say, the Northeast in the winter or the Midwest in the winter. But, there also is a very strong dynamic that is coming back into the meetings arena in the production and technology area. So yes, no question, hybrid is here to stay. Virtual meetings are here to stay. But what is pervasive right now, and what is still the big crystal ball, is how will meetings take shape? And then the planners and the producers of the future will have to sit with their stakeholders, define the objectives and goals, and say, hey, you know what, Ed? Based on what you're saying, we recommend that you have a hybrid meeting, or we recommend that this is strictly virtual and your investment can go to the production, or nope, you're going to have this XYZ type of meeting. It really has to be face-to-face if you have a choice, right? So it's opening up a whole new arena. And like many of us are saying, it's meetings and events meet broadcast and production. And we're getting closer and closer into that space where we're sharing it. And you've heard me say this before, where in the future, and now there are meeting planners who are logistics expert, and then there will be meeting producers who are the technical experts. So and that all fits into what you were alluding to with Patty Golden. Congratulations, Patty, on attaining your certificate in virtual dynamics, because Patty's at Ellis Island and the Statue of Liberty. To me, certification in the business is just one more check mark of where the business is going in terms of credentials and credibility and importance in the business world, business dynamics. So
Thank you.
Something that's really neat is that the Bridge School partners with various organizations to provide learning for their students. For example, we partner with a major ballet company, and we are able to enroll several of their students into our school. So now not only is the student able to participate in a school and have a seamless transition while they're very active in their ballet career, but now they have other dancers that are with them that are doing some of the same courses. So it's almost becoming a camaraderie where they're taking similar courses, they're working together on their ballet, and really being able to form this great partnership with these organizations to provide a needed service. A lot of times there are student athletes who will spend hours and hours at the gym or at the basketball courts, wherever it is. And if they're attending a traditional school, they're in school from 8 to 3. They get a quick snack, and then they're at the gym for 3 to 4 hours in the evening. Coming to us and having that partnership, they're able to break that up throughout the day. They can have a morning practice, get some schooling in, have an afternoon practice, finish their schooling in the evening. So there's that flexibility. And additionally, if there are tournaments or performances, it's fantastic, because if there's a week where they have shows straight through, they can take that week off of learning and then pick back up when they're done. So it offers this great flexibility. And for the program owners of these sports leagues, it is a win-win situation for them, because they see this need. They see this need that their students need to make sure that they are obtaining the grades necessary to be successful adults in our country and in other countries. But it provides them an environment where they can be successful at both.
Diane Alexander, when you consult in companies or in organizations for development, people development, as well as pathway development towards achievement of something, whether it's a mentorship or something else to achieve, what techniques have you used in the past that are especially effective? Is it one-on-one, building one person into 2 people and 3 people? And is it easier to do with women than men?
That's a loaded question.
I want you to think.
It's considering the world that we live in with COVID, I recommend that one-on-ones are effective. And for the sake of time, you plan a group. And then you assess whether the information you want to deliver should be, how it should be delivered. Because one-on-one is most effective, because people will be their authentic self. And the second part of that question is I believe you said with men, right? How do we communicate with them effectively? It is definitely you have to build trust, first of all. Building trust has to happen on more than one occasion, sometimes 2 or 3. And you're able to, once you get the trust that you need, and you do it in a way where it is non-threatening, that's effective as well.
And it takes time.
Yes. That's why I say sometimes 2 or 3.
Okay, Lindsay Childers, if I may ask you to comment on this.
Sure. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear comment on what Diane just said.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I think I agree completely. Building that rapport is just crucial, and you have to also build your credibility with that person, that you're knowledgeable about what you're talking about, and just making sure that you're communicating on a level that, you know, isn't, you want it to be an equal playing field, right? You don't want to use any language that might you know, be considered a microaggression or anything like that, and you want the same respect back. So I think it's all about an exchange of like mutual respect for each other, being able to relate to each other, and making sure that you're knowledgeable and about what you're guiding them on.
Great, thank you. Christine, would you like to add to that?
Well, I think it's an interesting point that you mentioned, you know, if are there differences between mentoring men and women? And I think sometimes when I think about, you know, a woman trying to take on a leadership role, I think sometimes our mentality is, okay, so I need to be this strong, you know, strict type of personality to match or be taken seriously of someone who is a male in a leadership role. And the thing is, I think that sometimes though, that can come across as being like a mean girl, right? And so that's kind of, how do you navigate that as a woman trying to be in a leadership role and asserting your, what am I trying to?
your position, you're asserting your title, like your knowledge on it. Yeah, I was Austin Business Journal put on a mentoring Monday today on International Women's Day. So it was all women mentors. It was just a large group of us. And we got to all get together and just talk about, you know, working in the industry and what it's like to break through, and how different women have experienced overt barriers and overt harassment. And now, like, sometimes it's a little more undercover nowadays. You know, it could be something as simple as, wow, Christine, that was actually a really good presentation. And you mean, it's like, actually, but would you say this if this were a man? You know, like, it's making sure that we're all communicating with each other with mutual respect and not seeing a difference just because of our gender. It was a really uplifting experience, and it was really great to just have so many women unite to lift each other up and give advice on how to get through these barriers, hidden or obvious, you know.
On the flip side of that, though, just my personal experience, when I was in management, though, to me, the ones who kind of gave me the more headache though were other women. So me managing men, they just took the direction. But I feel like sometimes us as women, we give each other a hard time. So that we need to stop doing that.
I think that we need to learn how to lift each other up instead of competing with each other. I think that is just a major, it's something I've heard repeated over and over and over again. And I would like to see it more put into play than spoken. I think that as women, we tend, I don't know how to like get it out of us. I don't know why we come out competing with each other. I hope
it comes off like, being like a mean girl, and it's like it's not the, you know, energy.
And I wonder if it gets worse now that we're doing everything virtually. So are you assuming tone when you read somebody's emails or text messages? Are we still facing the same types of challenges like those microaggressions, because now we're all virtual, so we don't have that maybe awkward interaction by the water cooler where those things can come out? So are we experiencing less of it, or are we experiencing a different form? Kind of, it'll be interesting to see kind of what plays out from this shift and workplace balance, how that changes now that we're all work from home, or will be some sort of a hybrid rather than all in the office.
So Diane Devitt, I think you're reading my mind here. It's all about media presence, isn't it?
Yes, on the virtual stage, yes. I started a training program on the impact of effective media presence. I mean, I came on this show today, and this was very, it's just an informal background because I choose to let people in a little bit to my personal environment. If I were on a show and having one of my shows where I was interviewing people, my my specially designed backdrop with my name on it would be there. And so just as I was alluding to before, where meetings meet broadcast and production, this is the world we live in. And the training that I'm doing for senior executives and the C-suite, and I choose to focus on different groups because I think the C-suite has specific needs and sometimes don't always have the friends around to tell them, hey, Dave, your lighting could be a little better. Let me help you with that. And the females and the women need other tips on the screen. It's just different. But regardless of anything, this platform, this stage that we're all on is not going to go away, and learning to be effective with it is, from a business point of view, going to enhance your impact.
So I want to go to Dave Levine. Dave, wellness and EAP and mental health. Let's just talk about working from home, particularly women who are oftentimes taking care of the kids and taking care of the house, and they don't have much time to themselves. And so stress is apparent, and how that impacts performance. If a meeting with the boss by video causes undue stress, if the cat walks by or somebody drops something and breaks it in the kitchen, and so people have mental stress. Now, EAP has the managers of EAP has always striven to remove the stigmas of going there for help. And is that going away now, or is it just more accepted, or what? I'm stumbling because I don't know what to say.
It's not going away, but as I said a moment ago, I think we've chipped away at that stigma, given that everybody has had to adjust in some way over this past year, whether it's juggling kids and education of those kids and maintaining your job in the same room, in the same home, or exposing an underlying depression that was there, and this tipped the scales and tipped it into a more entrenched depression. I think it's amplified behavioral health issues and at the same time chipped away at the stress. As Dianne Devitt was saying earlier, we've cut each other slack in getting onto the virtual platforms and making the adjustments that we've all had to make over this past year. But that as things get back to normal, and we have in some cases the option of working from offices, I think the virtual platforms are here to stay because there's so many advantages with them, and we will not be cut the slack in those virtual platforms as we have been this past year, and the expectation for more professional lighting or whatever the case may be, and organized content, I think are going to be there. That expectations and the more thoughtful, creative solutions we bring to the virtual platform, I think will be measured on that and influence our messages on that. Back to what Diane Alexander and Lindsay, I think Christina even commented on it earlier. It is challenging to, in some ways, it's more challenging to deal with difficult people in this virtual environment we're now in. In some ways, we're closer, and it exposes some vulnerabilities of each other, as has been the case, we're all dealing with difficult personalities at times, and that doesn't change. It's in some cases it's even more obvious. But just to remind ourselves that there are difficult personalities, and although we strive to get along with everyone and carry our message and being open to different styles of those messages getting delivered, there are some real toxic people in our work environments that we just have to try to avoid. And I'm thinking back to an old, probably a 15-year-old book now called The No Asshole Rule. Just sort of acknowledging that there's assholes that we're going to have to deal with. And this isn't a casual relationship, it's a work relationship. So there's other hierarchies involved. And the message of that book was, we're going to encounter them and tricks to minimize their impact on our overall well-being. But as we look in this environment and some of those vulnerabilities get exposed, and and we're finding ourselves dealing in more direct ways with people that we wouldn't otherwise be dealing as direct with, even virtually. I think that's a good reminder that there's some people that we don't have to push ourselves to engage 100% of people, because some of those people are just going to take more energy away than is worth it to advance our mutual interests.
Isn't it easier to avoid those people now than it was before?
I'm not
You
sure.
can just put on your D&D or, just, oh, I accidentally muted you during our meeting. I'm sorry,
That's funny. We have about 5 minutes left. I want to make sure everybody gets to talk more. So Diane Alexander, what are you going to be doing tomorrow that you didn't do today?
I have a list that I start every morning before I get out of the bed. I have 2 cell phones. My mind is thinking, I had to deal with, I had to identify who I was, how I think, when do my mind work best. And so like 5 o'clock in the morning, I am just typing with my hands, and I'm trying to enter everything I could think of in my phone to do, my calendars, my appointments, so that I could release the stress of, I forgot to do this, so I need to do that. So I plan as I go, and that helps me get my day started.
Good for you. Boy, that's a lot of discipline. Yeah. I apologize for the microphone here. In fact, maybe I'll just take it off here.
Diane, I do not miss having more than one cell phone. I've had up to 4 at a time sometimes.
Okay,
Ooh,
somebody else talk.
I will. I'm going to jump in here because I think one of the things I want to say, and I think it's just something for me, especially on a day like International Women's Day, is recognizing the men who support women along the way. And one of the biggest lessons that I learned, and I don't mind mentioning it here, it was one of my top clients, and going back years, 1995, this was New York Life Insurance, planning a meeting with them. And I couldn't seal a deal that I worked my tail off to do a perfect budget of $1 million. This budget was for a reunion, right? It was actually the 150th sesquicentennial, and went in, met with all the powers that be. I was, I think about how many years ago, went in at the 4 top people. Now, Diane, it's great, blah, blah, but see what you can do. See how you can work out something. Well, 2 things happened that night. Number 1, I invited a male colleague who I worked with in symbiosis to come up from Florida to be in the meeting the next day. Number 2, I went to see Defending the Caveman, which was a 1-man show at that time. And the big light went off for me in that show. If you haven't seen it, go see it. But it showed me the difference between men and women. And if you remember, the show was all about the potato chip. And the bottom line was that the men negotiated. They all knew their space at the table. And it all went down to the low guy on the totem pole who would refill the potato chip bowl. When it came for the women and there was one chip, 10 women got up at one time, didn't miss a beat, talked, who did this and that. But my takeaway was negotiation. Went back into the office the next day, put the budget down. Put the budget down. The original budget that I had presented was 1.2 million. My colleague from Florida said, take the 0.2 off. That's your insurance. That's your miscellaneous. Take it off. For me to go into an insurance company without any insurance on a program was a major risk for me. Of course, the female's like, no, I'm so worried and blah, blah. No, take it off. We have the meeting. All the men pat themselves on the back. Great, you got down to $1 million. And as we're walking out, one of the men said to my colleagues, don't worry, whatever you need extra, we'll figure it out down the way. And that was the biggest aha moment in my life. And I constantly learn from men the art of negotiation in business versus women, because it's a quid pro quo 9 times out of 10.
I actually brought that up to Christine right before this call. I was talking about how as women, we can sometimes, not stand up for ourselves in negotiations. I know when I got a job offer, and this was one of my first times getting like an actual offer, because I had worked with family-owned companies, but my therapist was like, counter. What's the worst they can do? And that thought never entered my mind. But I feel like men, it's possibly something that just pops into their mind, like, what else can I negotiate? But as women, sometimes we tend to be a little more reserved and taking less risk because we don't want to lose that opportunity.
And sometimes you have to put another hat on. I was like, think like a man, but you can still act like a woman. So that runs a huge value for me, especially the tone that we use and trying to accomplish tasks, because we're all in this together and everything is collaborative for success.
Well, remember the song from the Four Seasons? So Diane, being from New Jersey area, walk like a man, big girls don't cry,
Well, it's, it's confidence and it's value. And that's what it boils down to. But I think this is where we get into, and this is a whole nother discussion, but if you're a single mother and you're feeding a child and you don't have a lot of choices, you're so happy to get something secure. And so there's a whole different dynamics behind it versus, and I say this, and I know I'm generalizing because a lot of women are head of households, but for the most point, many times men are head of households. And so to me, it's a different way of thinking. I've got bills to pay. I've got children to put to college. And so I'm not going to be shot by women for saying that, but it's just the dynamic of how the world is right now. And when you have the responsibility, comes with that is the determination to get what you need to live a certain lifestyle. And that's what I think we all have to remember along the way. What value do we bring that's going to help the people we're serving?
I want to ask everybody to make sure you've exchanged email or LinkedIn page. So the value of this program is networking and going forward to the next opportunity to communicate, whether it's on global TV or somehow other place. Diane Alexander, would you like to sum up about what you've heard today and about the importance of IWD?
Sure. Everything that we do, you always have to think about others. Every day that we wake up, it's important to realize that we're not the ones that turn the light on. Someone is working behind the scenes to get that done. And there's always people working behind the scenes. So when it comes to what we do when we wake up, impacts a lot, because we have to make sure that we have a good day And what determines that sometime are other people and circumstances. So we have to make sure that we're in touch with ourselves, in touch with things that are around us to develop success. And it is not always spoken. And sometimes it is written. I believe, sorry I didn't get your name, but anyway, when we're writing, what are we writing? Who are we going to write to today? And how are we going to say what we want said? And managing our emotions throughout the day will help us realize what we need to do to get things done.
Lindsay, please sum up what you would like to take away from this.
I've just so much enjoyed today. I've met, International Women's Day 2021, just coming out with a bang. I'm just inspired by the women I've met today and that I've gotten to speak with today. And I'm just excited to see what comes next and the unity that can be brought out of our situation. I mean, COVID has, kept us confined to our homes, but I don't know about you guys, but once or twice a month, I get to go into the home of my CEO via Zoom meeting. And so the connections that we're building here now, we can just you're getting to go inside places you never would have and meet people you never would have before. So I'm excited to see, what's next for 2021 and how we can all partner together to, make this world a better place for future generations, especially the women, and how we can start instilling self-worth in young women around the world from an early age, so that they don't hesitate to stand up for themselves, and they don't hesitate to ask for more money, and they don't hesitate to value themselves and their skills. Because as women, we are powerful, and I'm just I'm happy to be a woman. I'm glad I am one.
Christine?
Yeah, I would just like to encourage those who women who are mothers, and that's their role their role is not their identity. So, to really, I guess, what am I trying to say? Learn a new craft, learn to speak up, be self-aware. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
Good. Thank you very much. So, Dianne Devitt, you and I have done, I think, 8 or 9 of these programs already, and I think this was the most free-flowing. And what are you going to take away from this?
I'm going to take away that we're all in a journey together, and we're all learning things. I think a day like this is beneficial for those of us who have much to be grateful for, but it also is beneficial for those who don't have things, and for the third world countries, and the horrible stories we hear of what happens to young girls and women around the world. Because as this day continues to grow, hopefully it will cascade and permeate. And even if one of them somewhere at one time hears the concept, you mean there's an International Women's Day, that it might spark some worth and hope in somebody who didn't have it before. So I think it's an awareness for all of us that we all need to grow together.
Dave Levine, if I could ask you to focus your thoughts for a moment. This is not rehearsed, so I apologize for the intrusion. But if you could focus your thoughts on women under 30 for a second, who are relatively new in the workplace, and in building a life for themselves. From your perspective, at the top of the wellness business, what can you advise?
Off the top, and come up with a different answer if I had some time to think about it. But off the top, I think just define your values and stay true to them. I think there's a knock on the millennials, and my daughter's just over 30, and I give her similar coaching, but the knock is that they're less invested in values and just in not taking the stance as older generations have taken. And I think to an extent that's a bad rap, but I would encourage to take those value-based stances and bring those into the workplace and be clear about what they're right and wrong and what motivates them and what values are, and allow that to have expression in the workplace. Those values, and encourage them that those values aren't any less important because they're women, that they're equally as important as any other male values that might be asserted, and to be guided by them. I think we're in trouble now because of, socially in some trouble because as the Derek Chauvin trial gets going with the George Floyd murders today, and the consciousness about values-driven behavior, I think that's taking on even more importance, that we need to be guided by them, and not just the technical expertise of our roles or even communication skills that are also essential, but to not let go of those values, to keep them dear and operate from them.
I'm glad you brought that up. You live in the Minneapolis area, so it strikes home hard. Thank you all for being on Global TV. We have to close this. Have a great day, and please come back. Bye-bye now.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you for joining us in the meeting room at Global TV Talk Show.
Have a wonderful day, and stay safe.